All right, we ready to go? Cool.
Yeah. I'm frustrated and grieving that I can't have a positive experience due to these accessibility issues. It felt very unnecessary for students to have to do this when we're attending a university that has so many resources and we're paying so much to be here. A lot of disability spaces, like organizations and foundations, function between this framework of charity and helping and giving back to the poor, unfortunate, disabled people. What makes On the Moov special and different is that we are totally against that. It's more of a community-based, collaborative space where people are working together to make campus accessible. Knowing that, again, we were just students and we were able to provide the support that UT wasn't providing was like a way to get out of that mindset of being discouraged. I'm Fabiola Amaya. I am from the Houston area. I've lived there my whole life. I'm a Master's of Social Work student. I did my undergrad at UT, also in social work. I've dabbled in different areas, some online advocacy, some in-person advocacy, but lately I've been really focused in more physical barriers, which is where my interest with On the Moov aligns. Okay. Through 12th grade of school, I was in a quote-unquote regular classroom with an IEP, an individualized education program. So I had most of the support I needed to get to my day-to-day activities with school, to get through my education. So being a first-gen student, I didn't really know how to navigate the overall college system. I barely knew what a major was until about junior year of high school. Didn't really know what the application process was like. And then being disabled, that added a few extra layers of difficulty with navigating the system. I was really excited when I got into UT, knowing that it was my top choice, but also there was some uncertainty there on how I would be able to come here. And then when I shared the news with my parents, they also felt the same. They were very proud of me for having gotten into UT, but were also worried about how I would manage to navigate such a big campus that had a lot of barriers. I thought I had prepared for what UT would look like when I got here, but experiencing it in real time was very different. I honestly felt pretty alone. Not only was I a first-gen student, but I was also disabled and I didn't really have any role models or anyone to turn to for support during that time. Not knowing which accommodations would be certainly in place, which ones could be up to the professors. All of that was a very scary experience. So I turned to Lauren, who was a counselor at a disability-friendly summer camp that I went to, and she knew that I wouldn't really have that support coming to UT. So she kind of guided me on what gaps were going to be unmet. She was concerned and she didn't understand the full scope of navigating campus with the wheelchair. Then I knew that it was going to be a lot harder than what she described. Lauren proposed the idea of On the Move. She thought that if volunteers could help me with my daily tasks, like getting from point A to point B and accessing meals in the dining hall, then that would make my life a lot more easier at UT. And so she started planning out the logistics, reaching out to different organizations on campus who had a service component so that we could tap into that and have them be volunteers. And one of the orgs that she reached out to was Texas Lassos, which was actually the most enthusiastic org about the idea. She met with members of Texas Lassos, proposed the idea, introduced me as a person who would be receiving the support, and then we kind of just took it from there.
Must be present. For that reason, David Mills, a microbiologist who works with German, actually sees B. infantis as part of milk, albeit a part that is not made in the breast. Human breast milk stands out.
Y'all.
It has 5 times as many types of HMO as cow's milk, and several hundred times the quantity. Even chimp milk is impoverished compared to ours. No one knows why this difference exists.
Okay, then I will do... My name is Aria Welch. I'm 22. I recently graduated from UT in May, and now I work in Austin as a policy analyst, and I was formerly co-president of On the Move. I got involved in On the Move through another student org. Texas Lassos is a spirit org at UT Austin. So at UT, there's a bunch of different spirit organizations, and they align with certain values just depending on the org. They're social orgs, but there is also an element, at least in Texas Lassos, of really contributing to the community and giving back. And at that time, I was a Lasso, so I volunteered in the original partnership and got to know Fab and got to know the sort of structure for what would become On the Move. And after I volunteered a bit, there was an opportunity to join the leadership team to try to make On the Move into an independent student org rather than just a partnership within Lassos. I guess background or like introduction to accessibility and the lives of like disabled people specifically in the US is really through my growing up with my cousin Shay. She was a wheelchair user. Going places with Shay and spending time with her, accessibility issues were kind of like a constant topic or just something that we always had to consider. I think that really gave me a bit of insight that a lot of people aren't always thinking about, is like how common and just pervasive accessibility barriers are. This sort of partnership really spoke to me. I signed up for a few of the volunteer shifts with Fabiola, and that really just entailed meeting Fabiola at a place, like a building, and then walking with her between buildings and helping her set up for class. And I think I was really struck by how how simple it is for community to be able to step up in that way. I mean, it didn't take a huge burden from me, but to be able to just be there, when a door is inaccessible or there's a scooter in the way, or helping Fab set up for class, I think I was struck by how friendly and simple and enjoyable it was, but also how meaningful and that is really impactful. UT as an institution has done many things to address certain accessibility measures, but when you look at accessibility barriers like setting up for class or opening doors that are inaccessible or moving like sidewalk barriers, which may be unpredictable, like day to day. That is something that is, so fundamental to access, and something that the university isn't addressing at this moment. And it does seem like without those accessibility barriers being addressed, then like the campus is truly not accessible.
I think campus is pretty much the same. I spent the last 3 to 4 years learning those routes. So now that I know things, I'm more prepared, and I'm still learning because there's so much construction going on campus. Things are always changing. So something that might have worked a month ago would maybe no longer work right now. UT has a map online of entrances to buildings that have an accessible door button, but it doesn't really show you how to get there. So kind of the obstacles that a disabled person, especially a wheelchair user in my experience daily at UT, include stairs or steps. Sometimes even just one step at a building entrance can make it inaccessible. Another thing is very narrow sidewalks, so sidewalks that wheelchairs can barely fit on. But then there's an extra layer of maybe a light pole being added that makes it even more narrow, or a car parking beside it and going too close to it, which again makes it more narrow. Just things like that that you wouldn't really think of if you didn't experience them, that make it really difficult to navigate campus. There's also a lack of curb cuts. I sometimes have to go on the road or on a bike lane, which is very dangerous because as someone who appears shorter due to my wheelchair, it would be harder for a car to see me if it was coming. So not only does it make it inconvenience, it also makes it dangerous. Another thing is opening doors if they don't have a button. A lot of the doors are very heavy, which cannot be opened if it doesn't have a button. Or another thing that you wouldn't think of is if you see an elevator, you might think that that's makes it fully accessible for a disabled person to go up and down. But again, going back to that limited arm mobility, I can't really reach and push those buttons. So I would just kind of be stuck in the elevator if I didn't have a volunteer with me to push to wherever I was going. I knew that if I needed this, then other students on campus would also need this.
How many times is your name?
976.
Damn you, Are you serious?
It's just so fun. I'm like 50 away from getting an inflatable pool.
Oh, yes.
When is the next Moov event?
Tuesday.
This Tuesday?
Yes, it's our last of the semester. We haven't advertised it because I think we just sent it out to like our people in our Discord, and it already got like full of RSVPs. But you're always invited to come if you'd like to join.
Okay, well, I'm Camden. I am the co-president of On the Moov. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, but I'm currently a junior here at UT, starting my student teaching next semester. Very exciting. I'm a special education major and minoring in disability studies. I really just kind of wanted to learn more about disability as a topic, especially from disabled people. I wanted to learn more about like history and like, I guess just different perspectives on disability, because what I had learned at that time, or like what I had like understood, was just from my perspective. At UT, like I was really searching for something to like expand my advocacy and like be able to learn more, especially here at UT. And it was like kind of frustrating because I felt like I didn't find that for a while. Until I saw like this advertisement. Disability and Access is where you can receive accommodations for testing or even just course materials and stuff like that. But the Disability and Access Office here at UT is severely short-staffed. They might only have like 10 to 15 staff members, and they need to review each student's claim, and each student has to have very specific paperwork from their doctor saying that they require these specific accommodations. And so you can imagine how many people would actually benefit from those, but they don't have access to get those specific documents, or they don't have the time to wait out, wait for this appointment that may or may not give them the accommodations that they need. So these are just like some other things that might deter disabled students from attending a public university like this. If you are a disabled student at UT, On the Moov is always in a state of outreach and looking for new people to support. Through our Instagram, we have like our main like Linktree resources that we encourage people to apply for. Or we also have it on our website as well, that you can kind of fill out a Google form and just tell us a little bit about you, what your access needs are, and like what you most need help with on campus. And we're kind of always open and always ready to like create community and connect with new students. So when I joined, it was just Fab and Aria trying to basically scout a board of people to kind of contribute and like build On the Moov to become like a solid organization. We do have an executive team that's kind of in charge of like running all of the On the Moov tasks and responsibilities. I would say it's definitely like co-presidents, but we also have our vice presidents, we have a secretary, and our treasurer, and we have a marketing director and an outreach coordinator. And so every week we have our exec meetings where it's me and Fab talking with all of our other exec members, just kind of talking about updates, what's going on in their lives, things that we're all working on, and like how we can kind of support each other in that. And then we also have our general members, which are just people who either volunteer on our shifts with disabled students, or they just are an On the Moov member and they come to our community events or our social events. And then we also have our disabled team leads, who are the people who give us their schedules, and then we assign volunteers to go and assist them for doing like physical tasks on campus. On the Moov is partnered with different organizations on campus. So like we're partnered with Texas Lassos and the Love Club and Fuse Acapella, just for some examples. And then from those organizations, we'll have just a representative that is like a member of our executive board. So they attend all of our weekly meetings just to kind of streamline the process of getting volunteers. But basically, when we have a disabled team lead, they share their schedule with us every Sunday or like Saturday for the upcoming week. And they'll tell us what times and what location they'll need assistance and for how long. And then usually for each student, we have them paired with an organization and their representative. It's a lot of inner background work and On the Moov, I'd say.
A huge part of On the Moov is our advocacy work. What UT provides is that which is dictated by the law, and it's leadership from the top down in general. Those policies aren't decided by the disabled students who are impacted. It's, what the university is legally mandated to provide. But just because there's a standard set by the law doesn't mean that that standard is like sufficient to provide an accessible university. And so the role of On the Moov is to really fill in those gaps that are still remaining in the law, and to use a disability justice framework to honestly go beyond that and to see what is really required to make a community and make a space accessible. Restroom Revolution began as a very, personal concern and personal issue of Fabiola and other members of our community and On the Moov. In particular, wheelchair user students who were either in On the Moov or were connected to the On the Moov community were having this persistent issue of needing to use the restroom on campus, but finding that the restrooms around weren't accessible, and that really left them with inhumane options, and that they either couldn't use the restroom on campus, like couldn't use it between classes, and that, or they would have to use the restroom in really like degrading circumstances, like leaving the door open when they use the restroom because the dimensions couldn't fit their power wheelchair. UT is by law required to comply with the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And in that law, there are standards for the dimensions of different restroom elements, whether that be the width of stalls, the types of handles, the height of certain things. However, that law is not comprehensive, and there are different standards depending on when restrooms have been built. So a building can be fully compliant with the law and yet have restrooms that are very outdated and inaccessible, especially when you consider that power wheelchairs are relatively new, relatively recent, and old standards of the ADA. They had certain dimensions that can't accommodate power wheelchairs. If you were to go around UT, you would see a sort of patchwork of accessibility in terms of both like the general facilities, but especially the restrooms. And that reflects just how, you know, construction on UT hasn't happened all at once. And the law may not require an old institution like UT to renovate those restrooms to comply with current standards unless they do other construction on the building. So if they're already renovating the restrooms, then they would have to make them compliant. And this was really, you know, really detrimental to their like quality of life and their ability to attend classes and like enjoy their experience on campus. It's, you know, dehumanizing, and it also spoke a message of belonging, I think, about the university. If, you know, those are the sorts of things that students would have to deal with to be a student at this university.
Intersectionality affects the disabled community in a lot of ways. I think the biggest ones I've seen have been race/ethnicity and socioeconomic status, meaning class and education status. An example that I always give is Greg Abbott is a wheelchair user, but he's a white, straight, middle to upper class man. And so his experience of disability is like worlds different than my experience. Again, being seen as an angry brown woman who's just yelling and being obnoxious about things, when in reality I'm passionate and I'm frustrated.
You can't separate, you know, disability from race experiences and gender experiences and like immigrant status, and they all come together. On the Moov as an organization would be really like founded in disability justice. And disability justice is distinct from disability rights. They're both movements. Disability rights preceded disability justice and was a very important movement and did accomplish a lot for disabled people. However, there did seem to be some flaws in the movement, in that it tended to center the experiences of white disabled people.
Accessibility is not just a checklist, or it's not just a standard, it's more something that you want to be ingrained within a culture. I feel like a lot of institutions, especially like our university, will say that they're very accessible and open to disabled students. A lot of institutions will say that they are like fulfilling this need, or fulfilling a requirement just by meeting like things like the ADA standards, rather than like trying to actually genuinely develop like a safe space where like disabled students are accounted for in every aspect. I don't think it's specifically a UT problem. Rather, it's just the way our institutions work. Basically, if something isn't broken to them, then they're not going to fix it. They've been seeing success for a lot of able-bodied students through their institutions. And so to them, it's kind of an excess, or it can be seen as an excess to, up their staffing in disability and access, or, attribute more money to doing ADA renovations. I think as a society, we don't associate disability and disabled life with higher success. And so I think that a lot of higher institutions have a pushback towards making their campus more acceptable and more inclusive, because they don't see that return of, profitable people joining the workforce or things like that. When in reality, you should be thinking of your institution as a place for people to learn about themselves and learn about their communities.
The fall of 2024, Fabiola fell and was injured. And this, like I said, this has happened before, and it was a pattern. It wasn't an individual thing that just happened to Fab. We saw that it was an institutional issue. And so Fab wrote a petition. It was shared widely, and part of this petition involved sending an email to the leadership of the university, including the president, and notifying them of the conditions of restrooms at UT, the experience of disabled students, and how the current state of restrooms was unacceptable. That petition got, I believe, at least 500 signatures, and many emails sent to the president of the university. The ADA coordinator also became involved, and I believe the ADA coordinator was the one who responded to those emails, not the president, and said that they were willing to arrange a meeting with students. Although I will say that wasn't the goal. It was about a priority, of setting priorities. And we wanted to speak to the people who actually had the power to set the university priorities, to change the budget, and to shift things so that more of the university's attention and resources was put towards this issue. We eventually did meet with the ADA coordinator after failing to receive a response from the president or any upper leadership of the university. During this meeting, several students repeated their concerns and their experiences with the inhumane conditions of restrooms at UT. And we came away from that meeting honestly feeling a bit dismissed. So while we were really disappointed by the lack of a response from UT leadership, we did receive a lot of attention from fellow students on the issue. We began to meet with members of student government and members of the Disability Inclusion Agency and try to brainstorm what we could do as a group of students, a coalition of organizations, to elevate this issue. And one of the big things that we came across was the lack of information about the scale of this issue. Because while we had testimonies from several students, we didn't have data on how widespread this was. So we began to organize an event in which students would go out and survey restrooms at UT based on several of the current ADA standards for restroom dimensions. And importantly, these were not all of the standards that are in place for restrooms. It was just about 10, maybe 15 of the standards that we thought could really capture whether a restroom was accessible or not. So to accomplish this, we created a survey method in which students would go to different restrooms and they were given different colored yarn that were pre-measured to match certain dimensions for the ADA standards. And they would record the measurements of certain restrooms and whether they matched those dimensions in a Google form. And all of that information was collected and recorded for us to see. In all, we surveyed almost 400 restrooms, and we found results that really did reflect what disabled students had been saying all along. To share our findings, we compiled a report that summarized the scope of the issue by showing what percentage of the restrooms surveyed failed at least one of the current ADA standards for restroom dimensions. And I shared this report at a forum with different UT administrators and students and faculty that are invested in accessibility and disability issues. And after that meeting, I was asked to send the report to the ADA Prioritization Committee. And On the Move was also given a spot on that committee, a standing spot where a student representative of On the Move would be able to contribute to the conversations that were being had about where the money goes for ADA funding. The other thing we did was publish the findings in an act of legislation by student government. And the goal with this was to create institutional memory and really preserve the event, preserve the issue in university documents. Our story was also picked up by the Austin American-Statesman, who published pictures of the restroom issues that we were talking about, and also published some of our findings. Altogether, I am super proud of the work that we did as a coalition and as a group of students to continue to elevate this issue, even when we were being dismissed and even when that was really demoralizing, especially for the students who were impacted. It's demoralizing to have to continue to advocate for something that seems so obvious that it's wrong. At the end of the day, after we did all of this, worked for, a year, or still working on this, we never got a response from the president, the people we were emailing from the very beginning. My desire to help, I think, is really driven by compassion and a sense of injustice in that there is sort of needless inequality. So yeah, it's like it is a desire to help people, and I think that's rooted in compassion, but I think it goes bigger than that, in that I am not satisfied by treating the same symptoms, but I want to see what I can do to stop those issues from happening.
Growing up, I was the oldest sibling, and I lived with a single mom. And so I feel like growing up, I was always kind of brought up into like this culture of caring for each other. As I've learned more through disability studies, it's become like it's a very important like lesson within my life that like care is something that's very vital, and like providing care for other people is a way for you to care for yourself. And so in my mind, it's also like, if I was in this position, I would want my friends, I would want people I can trust to care for me and to help me out with these things. And so it's like, if I have the privilege and the ability to do that in my own body, why would I not use that privilege to help other people?
I think that something I would want everyone to know about disabilities and kind of internalize is that disability is human. Like, it's very normal. People, as they age, so it sounds really dark, but it's true. As you age, you either become disabled or you die. Like, those are your two options as you age. So disability is going to happen no matter what. And so the true path forward is to accommodate it, to include it, and to normalize it, because it's such a human experience. Like, it's not this foreign concept that might never touch your life. Like it'll touch your life one way or another. On the Move is pushing back against the popular narrative that disabled people are helpless and passive recipients of support.
I really love this community where everyone is included and accepted. When we first started on the Move, I was a little bit intimidated by them just because they're older and they're kind of like oracles to me.
We really started to connect and showed me a lot about Fabiola and the things that she liked to do. I mean, she's so creative and organized and makes beautiful visuals.
Through those 15 to 30 minute walks, we just started talking about anything and everything, and we kind of became friends through that.
What I really want for the future of On the Move is for it to become very solidified and very concrete in our values and what we do.
I have big visions for On the Move. I hope that it can spread to different colleges and universities across the US because this support is needed everywhere.
I'm really hopeful and I'm really inspired by things that, give me hope. So, being a part of something like this really gives me hope for a better future. I care about people and I have faith that society will get better.